I'm Emily Mashak, and you're listening to Tuned Into NoCo, Town Square Media's show that lets you know what matters in NoCo. I'm talking today again with Kelly Osthoff, the Senior Director of Programs at the Alzheimer's Association's Colorado chapter. And we're actually here today to talk about the Alzheimer's Association's offer to help Loveland Police Department officers with training on how to spot dementia following the surfacing of videos from a 2020 arrest. So thank you so much for joining me today, Kelly.
Thank you for having me, Emily. I'm glad to be here.
Of course. And now, before we get into the topic at hand, I want to start general. I've asked you this before, but how does the Alzheimer's Association define dementia?
Dementia is a set of symptoms. It entails a set of changes such as loss of short-term memory, even loss of long-term memory eventually. It includes changes in behaviors, new challenges with problem solving, planning, organizing, thinking, and learning. So dementia is simply an umbrella term that encompasses changes that are severe enough to interfere with daily life. I always say dementia are the changes that you may observe in someone you know. Alzheimer's disease is the actual disease that is the most common cause of dementia. So about 60 to 80% of all dementia is caused by Alzheimer's disease. However, there are other diseases and conditions that can cause those changes of dementia in addition to Alzheimer's disease.
In general, how many people are affected by Alzheimer's or dementia in Colorado?
Yeah, actually, our new facts and figures report was just released. So I invite everyone to go to alz.org and look at the new facts and figures for 2021. And in 2020, we estimated that in Colorado, there were 76,000 people living with Alzheimer's disease. And that number is expected to grow almost 22% by 2025. Which is only 4 years away, and that number is expected to be 92,000 in just a few years. So the number of people with Alzheimer's disease certainly is increasing, and that means that people are caring for them. And in Colorado, currently there's estimated to be over 158,000 people providing unpaid care to a friend or a family member.
Wow, well, that is clearly a big issue that affects our state. But now we're here to talk today because the Alzheimer's Association has offered to help train the Loveland Police Department officers on how to spot dementia following the release of body cam videos from a 2020 arrest of a woman who did have dementia. Can you tell me more about this? What made the Alzheimer's Association want to extend this offer?
Sure. Well, unfortunately, if you have seen the video of the arrest of Mrs. Karen Garner, it's quite devastating. It's really hard to watch. My heart aches for her. My heart aches for her family members and friends who have had to see that video. However, though it was captured on tape and released to the public most recently, scenarios like this one aren't uncommon or unusual. It is likely for first responders to interact with community members who have dementia. Those people may be doing something like forgetting to pay for an item as they leave the grocery store, or becoming confused with very basic directions in a high-stress scenario. So these things do happen. Unfortunately, Karen Gardner's story just hit the news, and with the lawsuit, it's become more evident to our general community. So we have long offered education and training for first responders, either in person through our education programs or online through our Approaching Alzheimer's program, both of which are free, may I add. However, because it's not required for first responders to have training on dementia, have enough training on dementia, we do see that not enough people are trained. So we've long had these services available. And how we got connected to the Loveland Police Department is actually our regional director, the day after the story hit the news, in addition to our public statement of support for Mrs. Gardner and her family, we reached out to the Loveland Police Department to offer support, education, information, so that it doesn't happen again. Of course, our ideal is that we could have provided enough education prior to this where it wouldn't have happened. However, now that it has happened and we know actually what occurred, it became even more evident that this department and all departments need training on this topic. So we simply reached out to them and they quickly called us back.
I'm so glad to hear that both of these agencies are working together. Would you be able to tell me more about what the training is like?
Sure. Well, the challenge when someone has dementia is it may not be instantly or immediately obvious to someone. However, there are some cues that people can look out for to detect that a person may have some sort of memory loss, have challenges with basic tasks. And so it really gives that person a pause to take a step back and see if they should be responding differently. So our education programs talk about the signs and symptoms of dementia, which are obvious ones, like someone repeating themselves or not being able to answer simple questions, or it may be subtle and nuanced changes to look out for, such as someone who's not properly dressed for the weather, or someone shuffling their feet differently and not getting around as well as someone else. So our trainings and education programs talk about how to detect that someone may have some form of cognitive impairment, and then we provide practical tips on how to respond better. So a person responding to someone with dementia will want to remain calm, have a calm voice. If asking questions, asking very simple yes or no questions or basic option questions. And the person may want to take that person into a quiet space, lower their voice, and approach the situation differently. What happened in this video was the opposite. The person was Karen was clearly confused and disoriented. And unfortunately, the officers continued to escalate the situation, and that didn't help the interaction. So we walk through those two things: how to detect that someone may have cognitive impairment and what to do differently.
I see. And this will be a bit of a big question, but how do you think this training will affect police interactions with dementia patients in the future?
Well, I think the ultimate is that the situation that we see here on tape of Mrs. Gardner doesn't happen again. With the growing number that I mentioned earlier of people living with dementia and Alzheimer's in Colorado, and it's estimated to grow almost 22% by 2025, we are going to have more and more community members who oftentimes may be alone in community. And the first responders need to be equipped with the right tools because, frankly, jail or a law enforcement environment can cause even more disorientation and frustration for a person with dementia. So we need to equip our first responders with the tips and tools to know how to respond, know how to get that person to safety, which may be a hospital or in the care of a family and friend. So our hope is that this wouldn't happen again. And though I've heard these stories in the past, I've also heard good stories of how first responders, police, for example, addressed a situation differently, and it ended up to be more successful. So that's my hope, is that these things don't happen. People with dementia can continue to reside at home and maintain a level of independence that is safe for them, because the majority of people with dementia aren't in nursing homes or assisted livings. They're in our communities. And so we as a community, whether it be first responders, just your average citizen, family members, need to understand dementia so that the quality of life and the safety is improved for those people with dementia.
Right, right. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that is a really great perspective for people to hear about. And going off of what you said, how should people who aren't first responders, just regular citizens, respond if they notice someone who may have dementia or is struggling, maybe even within their own family? What are the best ways for them to reach out and help that person?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, just because someone is old or older doesn't mean they have dementia. So there are a number of older adults out there without dementia. But what I always say is if someone looks confused or if someone looks disoriented, and this can be possibly looking at an item in a confused way, looking lost in a store or a parking lot, if they are repeating themselves or just generally confused, be a kind community member. I think patience can go a long way when someone is showing the signs of dementia, showing that you care, a warm smile, your energy and your tone of voice and the emotional response that you have goes a long way when someone has dementia. So be kind, be caring, be a good neighbor. And it's okay to ask a quick question. If someone looks lost or if someone looks confused, say, I just wanted to check in. Is everything okay? Or can I help? I know I've done that. Someone looked lost in a parking lot and they just said, oh, thank you for asking. I just can't find my car. And after I looked around for the color of the car, the person found it. So I think we just have to be good neighbors, take a step back, be patient, be kind. And if you're ever worried about the safety of someone or the safety of yourself due to this level of cognitive impairment or confusion, please call the first responders. Call 911 if you're concerned about someone's safety or well-being. But those are just some practical tips early on about how to be a good neighbor and a good community member.
Yeah, I think those are great tips. And now, if someone has been diagnosed with a form of dementia or maybe is a caretaker for someone that has been diagnosed, what should they do and how can they reach out to the Alzheimer's Association for help?
Give us a call. We are all here for our community, people living with dementia, their family members. Give us a call at the Alzheimer's Association. The best way to do that is through our 24/7 helpline. And the phone number for that is 800-272-3900. That will route callers to, again, a 24/7 number. It will always have a friendly person on the other line to get information, support, and we even have master's level counselors who work on the helpline to provide more in-depth support if a caregiver is distraught or needs that additional emotional support. But anyone and everyone can call that helpline number, get information on Alzheimer's, find out how to get involved in your community in this cause, or even take a class. We have excellent education programs that we offer at no cost, and calling our helpline is the best inroad into our classes and also our support groups.
Well, thank you, Kelly. I think that is awesome, and I appreciate you coming in and talking to me again. Is there anything else you would like listeners to know today?
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Emily, for having me. I think what I would like to end on is at the Alzheimer's Association, our vision is a world without Alzheimer's and all other dementia. We hope to one day have some sort of a treatment or a cure or a preventative measure for Alzheimer's. I know that as someone with a family history, I really feel strongly and passionately about finding a cure for this disease. But until we're there, we are here for our communities, our families, here at the Alzheimer's Association. So please reach out to us and let us know how we can help. And we are here for you. So thank you.
That's great. Thank you again, as always, Kelly.
Yeah, thanks, Emily. You take care.
Again, that was Kelly Osthoff, the Senior Director of Programs at the Alzheimer's Association's Colorado chapter, talking about the Alzheimer's Association's offer to help train Loveland Police Department officers on how to spot dementia following the release of the body cam footage from the 2020 Karen Garner arrest. Learn more about this on our station apps under Tuned Into NoCo or more about the Alzheimer's Association by visiting alz.org.